Alright, what up, ballers? Saturday, one day till Sunday. Got football coming. I'm going to give you some advice for your DFS lineups. Start out giving you basic cash game advice, which, most of it switch over to the GPP. But then I'll give you a few that are specific to tournament play. So I'm going to run through them pretty quick. I have another video coming out right after this that'll give you 4 different lineups too, so check that out. A 50-50 lineup for Sunday, tournament lineup for Sunday, and then a 50-50 for Sunday, Monday, because that Monday night game is really good, and tournament for the same. So for quarterback, in the baller section, we have Matt Ryan at 8,100. He's basically my go-to in 50-50s. I'm not even really looking anywhere else. I think he's a guarantee for, 3 touchdowns at least. And, I just like to lock in somebody that I know is going to get me the points. But then in the mid-tier, we have Deshaun Watson and Andy Dalton. Deshaun Watson hasn't put up the points like he did last year, but it's definitely going to come. And so, even in 50-50, I think either one of these are okay. But in tournament play, I'm putting both of them in. Tournament play, I'm putting all the people I'm going to name in at least somewhere just to see if they hit. So Andy Dalton in the Dome versus Atlanta, and Deshaun Watson versus Indianapolis, or at Indianapolis. Both are great matchups. That Andy Dalton, that Atlanta-Cincinnati game is going to be a shootout. Then if you're looking for value, we got Mayfield coming in, facing Oakland at 6,900. I think he's a really good tournament play, but I do think a lot of people are going to be playing him as well. The ownership's not going to be too high at quarterback for any of these, especially since, a lot of the big names aren't on the main slate. Then we've got, for the GPP plays, Eli Manning versus New Orleans. That's going to be a shootout, I imagine. And, a few years ago, they hit 100 points total in a game. Probably not going to happen, but you got to get Eli Manning in on your tournament plays. Ryan Tannehill versus New England. He's been playing well. He's at 6,800, and New England might be the worst defense that he's played so far. So that should be another shootout. And if you're playing the Monday night, Sunday through Monday, Case Keenum is down at 6,500 versus Kansas City. I don't understand why he's that low. I'm going to be playing a bunch of tournaments with Case Keenum in my lineup just because, in any other matchup, okay, like Case Keenum is a boring, below average quarterback. But versus Kansas City in this shootout, you just play whoever's playing Kansas City, especially when, Denver's at home. If you're playing in Kansas City, it maybe is a different story, but I don't get why he's down at 6,500. Moving on to running backs. For the baller section, normal names, we got Kamara at 9,100 at the New York Giants. We got Melvin Gordon at 8,700 versus San Fran, and Saquon Barkley at 8,000 versus Saints. Gordon, I think the Chargers are gonna take the lead pretty early and just run with him, but their pass defense is pretty bad too, and he gets a ton of receptions. So, and then the shootout with Kamara and Barkley both getting catches. They both are going to get over 10 catches each, and just both of them are going to eat. Then we have, so a lot of people have been on Ezekiel Elliott, and I'm not against that pick. Their defense is awful, playing the Lions, but like their run defense is the worst in the league. But Dallas just slows down the game. So I like Ezekiel Elliott really hasn't been putting up the points, the elite points. And eventually he's going to get some big games. But Dallas just plays down the clock, and there just isn't enough plays for any player on either team when Dallas is in the game. Going down to the mid-range, we have Gio Bernard, who price point, he's mid-range, but against this Atlanta defense, who just gets killed by running backs that can catch, I am putting Gio up in the elite, the ballers range, but price point, he's at 6,400. So I'm putting him in most every lineup, but at the same time, so is everyone else. So you're not going to differentiate yourself, but he's going to get points. And it's nice to have a few lineups, especially in tournament play, where you branch out. But at the same time, he's going to get points, and everybody's going to have him. And if you don't have him, you're going to be at a disadvantage trying to pay for other guys. But somebody who's a little bit more pricey than him, but I think is still a good play and a good way to branch out from Gio if you want to, is Carlos Hyde at Oakland. With Mayfield in, their offense is going to be in position to score more, and he's going to get a lot more goal line carries. He's going to get a lot more opportunity to get those touchdowns. That's what you really want. And he got 23 carries, I think it was, last week, so they're riding with him. Now, Breida, next in line, was one of my go-tos because it was looking like Alfred Morris was going to be out or could potentially be out, and Breida was going to be fine. Now that seems to have flip-flopped, so I'm staying away from him. But if it comes down to tomorrow and they say he's fine, in a game where they're going to be behind and they're going to have to pass, the game script is going to fall in his favor. And, I would love having Breida in my lineup if I knew he was going to be healthy. As far as our value picks, if you're playing on Monday, you have Jarvis Allen at 5,400. And, I think as far as these two value picks I'm giving, he's the only one that I really want in my lineup. Like, I'd rather pay up for running back. And even with him, I'm still trying to pay up, but I'm okay with putting him in some lineups, even 50-50, because I think he's guaranteed the catches in a game where Pittsburgh's going to score and they're going to need to keep up. And then next we got Hines at $5,000 versus Houston. I think he's going to get catches. I think there's going to be some points to be had in this game. But I'm staying away. But if you need to save money at running back, there's somebody who, you can count on for, 6 to 10 points. And at $5,000, that'll pay off his value. Now for the GPP plays, I'm not putting any of these guys in 50-50, but I think they're all great tournament plays. We have Sony Michel at 5,900. He's just super talented. He's the only back in New England. It's been a slow start. He's also been hurt. He's still recovering from that. This could be the week that he really shines and that they get him involved and he could have a monster game. So you got to put Sony Michel in a few lineups. Then Aaron Jones in Green Bay. I was huge on Jamal Williams. I just thought anybody can run in Green Bay because they got to worry about the pass. He has had tough matchups, but I thought the pass blocking was going to get him involved, and then just being in that high-powered office where they couldn't stack the box was going to be enough to make even an average quarterback average running back look great. But that's not what happened. And now Green Bay has found out that pass blocking is great, but they need a running back that can, cause a threat so that they can't just focus on Aaron Rodgers. So I think Aaron Jones this week against Buffalo is the week they showcase him. I mean, it's a game that they're going to win. I mean, we said that with Minnesota too, but it can't happen 2 weeks in a row. This is a game the Packers are going to win, and going to win by a lot. And so why not showcase that you have this running back, at least make defenses think about that fact before next game. And then this guy has got to blow up. I drafted him. I was super high on him in season long. And it didn't pan out, but I'm not giving up. David Johnson versus Seattle. I think this could definitely be the week. You know, new rookie quarterback in, changing things up. Hopefully they get him involved in the passing. You know, I don't know how well I think he's ever going to do this year in the running, just with that line being so awful. But if they can start getting him involved in passing, get him the ball 8 to 10 times a game, he's going to make something happen with that. And I think it's got to happen eventually. His price has been going down. He's only at $7,600 this week. And if he lights up, he has the talent to do it. If he does, nobody is going to own him. Everybody is running away. Nobody's putting him in lineups. You're going to get him, and you're going to be the only one with him. So in tournament play, I think he's a great play. Okay, so now moving on to wide receivers. We got in the baller section, Michael Thomas. You know, just like Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas is going to be in here until they stop him. And, like, it doesn't seem to be happening. Those two, you know, I might drop Alvin Kamara down a little bit next week when Ingram comes back, but at the end of the day, those two are like top of the top until proven not to be. And Julio this week. I really like Julio because I think a lot of people are going to be going with Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is $2,300 cheaper. Julio is up at $8,600. But that shootout with Cincinnati's defense is awful. There's just a bunch of points coming. And I think this is the week that Julio gets his. People are betting on Calvin Ridley, so nobody is I'm not going to say nobody, but most people are putting Calvin Ridley in their lineup just because they are looking at the 3 touchdowns last week and thinking that's going to keep coming. This is the week you can put Julio in your lineup and have super low ownership for him. So, you know, 50-50 is great. Tournament, he's my go-to wide receiver for tournament play. For the mid-range, I got a couple names for Monday night. You know, Tyreek Hill down at 7,800 at Denver. I feel better about him in tournament play. In tournament play, you got to play him in some lineups just because he can pop off any week. But, I mean, even in 50-50, I don't feel bad. You know, he had a down week last week, but everybody's going to have down weeks, and his up weeks are so much better, and his down weeks really, like, you know, he's not going to get one catch. He's going to do something. And then Emmanuel Sanders versus Kansas City. You can drop down 200 if you need to Demaryius Thomas. But I'm going Sanders at 8,700. That's going to be another shootout. And, you know, just as I'm high on Case Keenum, or higher than their price, you know, Emmanuel Sanders is going to get those receptions. Now, if you're just playing the Sunday slate, we got Jarvis Landry at 7,000 at Oakland. Mayfield came in, went straight to Landry over and over. He's the biggest beneficiary to this switch. And so, you know, get him in your lineups. He's 7,000, but he could end up at the end of the week being up there with the Michael Thomas and the Julio. Down a little bit at 6,500, we got Allen Robinson versus Tampa Bay. Now this is Tampa Bay scores. Chicago's going to have to keep up. You know, I think this is a test for both sides. Tampa Bay being one of the better offenses Chicago has faced, and Chicago being by far the best defense Tampa Bay has faced. We have a little bit of the same thing with Kansas City playing Denver this week, but really next week against the Jags is the big question mark. We'll see how that game goes. I'm excited for that one. But Allen Robinson has 7 targets, 14 targets, 7 targets. He is the guy in Chicago. And in a game that's going to have more passing than any game he's been in this season, I think getting him in your lineups, 15 plus targets is not going to be unheard of. Is not going to surprise me at all. So I think Allen Robinson is a great play in that mid-range. But when it comes down to wide receivers, there is so much value at wide receiver this week. So my play of the week, the guy that I'm putting in basically every lineup, is Sterling Shepard for the New York Giants versus the Saints at 6,200. Marshawn Lattimore last week shut down Julio. We saw Calvin Ridley light it up. This week, Lattimore is no question on Odell Beckham. So, we got Sterling Shepard, the main beneficiary from that. Just saw Calvin Ridley light it up. We're about to see Sterling Shepard blow up, get most of the touchdowns in this game, I'm expecting. Saquon Barkley is also going to get his, but between the two of them, I see that where most of these touchdowns in this game are going to go, and there's going to be a lot of them. So just quick through the rest of these values. We got Tyler Boyd at Atlanta. That Cincinnati-Atlanta game, like I said, shootout, 5,800 for Tyler Boyd. AJ Green may or may not be there. If he is there, he could still be hurt. So, that's a great play right there. Corey Davis down at 5,400. How is that possible? So, yeah, he hasn't been putting up huge numbers, but he's been getting huge targets. And last week he faced the Jaguars. So, just throw that game out. If somebody faces the Jaguars, a wide receiver faces the Jaguars, just let it go. Just forget about that game and move on. He's playing Philly this week, so much better matchup. Next we got with the values, I'm just going to throw 3 more names in there. Kenny Golladay, really like him at 5,800, especially in 50-50. He's guaranteed to get some points. Calvin Ridley, 6,300. I think his ownership is going to be through the roof. I'm trying to get Julio instead, but if you don't have the money for Julio, it's not bad option. And Michael Williams for the Chargers, 6,300. He's been putting up numbers. The bottom 2, Calvin Ridley and Mike Williams, are not the guys I'm going for, but they're both down there, both at 6,300, and both good plays. Now for GPP real quick, Keenan Allen, I think this is his week. That's kind of the reason I'm not going Mike Williams. I think, Richard Sherman is out, I think. I'm pretty sure he's out. Double check on that, but I tried to find information on it. It looked like he was ruled out for this week. So Richard Sherman, in or out, that defense for San Fran is just not that great. Without Richard Sherman, their secondary is awful. 8,100 for Keenan Allen. But the big thing with Keenan Allen in the GPP plays is nobody is going to play him. He is going to have such low ownership because, one, he's hurt, so you do have to check on that and make sure that he does play. But if he plays, he's been playing down. Mike Williams has been playing up. Everybody's going to go that route. If you get Keenan Allen and he blows up, nobody's going to have him. And then 2 guys on the same team, Callaway and Higgins, both at 5,400 against Oakland, both on the Cleveland Browns, both wide receivers about to see increased scoring opportunity with Mayfield in. I'm going Higgins just because I think he's going to have lower ownership, and Callaway had a couple drops, so Higgins could step in and find the favor of Baker Mayfield. So I'm going that way, but honestly, in GPP, it wouldn't be bad to have a couple lineups with each of them in, and whichever one blows up, at least you're set. You got a guy who just blew up with low ownership, and you can, if you win those 2 tournaments and lose the other 2, you're going to be up a good bit of money. So, tight ends, the ballers, we got Kelsey if you're playing the Monday night game. He's my number 1 tight end for the week and for the year, and just has been doing it. Zach Ertz next at 7,000. With Wentz back in, he looks for the tight ends, and so if you can afford it, go with Ertz. But there are a lot of good value at tight end and wide receiver. I'm paying down all week for. I don't mind it at all. So I'm just going to list off 5 guys and tell you which ones I like the most. Eric Ebram, 5,500 versus Houston. Njoku, 5,200 versus Oakland. Austin Hooper at $5,000 versus Cincinnati. Tyler Eifert at 4,600 at Atlanta. And Ellison for the New York Giants at 4,100 versus Saints. So I think Ellison is an interesting play down at 4,100 if you really want to save some money. He's coming in for the injured Evan Ingram. He came in, he made a few catches. It's not something I'm looking to put in, but if you need that, $500 step down from Eifert, and that $500 is really going to make your lineup, then yeah, go for it. Switch them out. But up to Eifert, $500 more. My tight end of the week. I'm putting him in most every lineup. He had 8 targets, I believe, last week. I'm checking on that right now, but I'm pretty sure it was 8 targets, and he looks healthy, he looks good. And this is going to be a shootout. And weird to me that people aren't really talking about him. When I've been listening to these podcasts, they're talking about every other tight end. I've heard his name mentioned a few times. Yeah, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 74 yards. That's good numbers for a tight end. That's great numbers for a tight end. And in a shootout this week, he could get 2 touchdowns. That's not ridiculous to think. So I'm putting him in everything. He's the cheapest. But even if he was the same price as the rest of them, I still think I would choose Eifert. But I would definitely switch it up. If they were all the same price, I'd be moving them in and out more around. But to save 900 from Ebram, 600 from Njoku, and then we got Hooper right above, the other side of that shootout. I like Eifert better at the same price, but if you're putting Matt Ryan in, maybe throw Hooper in just to see especially in a tournament play. I don't think it's a bad choice, but I'm going Eifert. Njoku, I think, is a very good play, especially for the rest of the season. But I think right now, this week, Baker Mayfield wants to come out and prove himself, and he really likes the tight end position. In college, he threw to his tight end a lot. So I think we're going to see Njoku come out this week. And Ebram, he's been having drops, but those drops can't continue forever. So just count on him to be making some of those catches that he's been dropping, and if he made them all last week, we'd be talking about him. He wouldn't be, going for 5,500. He'd be going for 6,700, 6,800, and we wouldn't really be talking about him anymore. But he's still down at 5,500, and so put him in your lineup. Defenses real quick, up in the baller section. the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Jets, you know, that is what it is. Jaguars defense is awesome. Jets offense is not. So go put that in. Philly versus Tennessee at 4,600. I actually was able to fit this lineup in one of the lineups I'm going to show you in the next video. So, you know, Marcus Mariota is in the game, but he's still injured. He can't throw right. It takes a second longer for him to release. So, you know, they're going to get after him. And it's just a good matchup in general. Tennessee isn't that good. But with an injured Marcus Mariota, count on some points there. So if you can fit the Philadelphia Eagles lineup in, I would do it. For the values, you got the other side of that Jacksonville game, the Jets at $4,000. Blake Bortles has been shown to miss passes. Like, just put him in there, put them in there. I think that's a good play. The play that I'm going with is the Cleveland Browns versus Oakland. You know, before my first video, I was going with Tampa versus Chicago, and I still am in some lineups. I'm not just going Cleveland, but I'm mostly going Cleveland now. They've been playing well as a defense. They've been playing against good teams, and those good teams have been performing bad against them. They shut the Saints down, basically. So, going against Oakland, you got to count on them coming in, and you know, they've been playing good offenses, and now they get Oakland. So, I'm playing them all over the place. Tampa, though, I thought Tampa looked better than I expected. I'm not going to say they looked good against the Steelers. They gave up a ton of points. But not all of that was their fault. 3 picks, pick 6, one of them didn't even have anything to do with them. But I thought they looked decent, and I think they've played really tough teams. So you give them Chicago, one of the easier offenses to play against, who also has a good defense that could potentially slow down Tampa Bay's offense. You get a game where Tampa's defense in this game should outperform all of their past performances. And their past performances haven't been bad. Like 7 points, I think they're averaging. 6 or 7 points. So, you know, if they're averaging 6 or 7, hold on, let me see this. Tampa is averaging 6 points per game. So if they're averaging 6 points per game, a little over 6.3 points per game, against really good defenses, you can expect them to put up 10 points against this below average team. You know, like, they face Pittsburgh, Philly, New Orleans. All good offenses. So, give them a chance. Alright. Well, okay, so that's all I got. I'm come with a video either Sunday, Monday, give you early DFS picks, and another video going through the picks that I made this week in this video, so that y'all can see exactly where I'm at and how I'm doing. Cool. Well, I'll see you back next week. Also, check out this next video I'm about to post with 4 different lineups for you to look at. Alright, ballers. Peace. Just break down how well these picks did and let my